Hey y'all, it's me, your fave, Jazzonfire. And I know it's been a while, but if you are seeing my face on your screen, then you know what it means. It is the fourth Sunday, and we are here with another episode of In Creative Color. I'm here to talk with the creators, the bakers, the movers, and shakers. And y'all, we've got an amazing set of guests here today. So without further ado, I will bring them right on in. Timothy and Laniqua Richardson. How are you guys?
Doing good. Honored to be here. What's up, Jasmine?
Sure. I'm so excited. Literally cannot wait to hop into this conversation. Got some good stuff. I know the folks have been asking where we've been. We had a little hiatus, but of course, you know, guys, we got to come back with some heat. So super excited to hop in. And of course, like I tell y'all, I know it's a Sunday. You probably went to church, but we're going to take you to church again. Pray in and hop into the conversation. So, Heavenly Father, the creator of all things, the blueprint, we thank you, we honor you, and we firstly just point to you because it is because of you that we get to do the things on this earth, like creating and bringing forth ideas, beautiful visions, and projects. We pray that this conversation will bless someone, whether it is a million people or just one. We will not fail to give you the glory. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm so excited. I always got to read the bios, and they are always absolutely stacked. So first, we have Laniqua C. Richardson. Laniqua Collins Richardson is an award-winning editor and producer whose work can be described as viscerally emotive and artistically bold. She has cut together documentaries, short and long-form narrative films, TV shows, music videos, and commercials. With over 4 years in the industry, she is accustomed to performing in deadline-driven, fast-paced environments while pushing creative limits to assist in the delivery of projects that surpass expectations. Round of applause for Laniqua. And then we have Timothy Richardson. Timothy was inspired to pursue cinematography after he watched the film Moonlight. He went on to attend Georgia State University, where he earned a Master of Arts degree in digital communication. During his time studying at the university, he was one of 5 cinematographers chosen to attend a private screening of the film If Beale Street Could Talk, and met cinematographer James Laxton, ASC. After graduating, he started his career in Atlanta, Georgia by shooting independent projects, and he now travels nationwide shooting documentaries, narrative films, and music videos. His work can be described as dynamic, expressive, and intimate, and has been screened in domestic and international film festivals, earning his cinematography accolades for his bold optical style and visual language. Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy and Laniqua Richardson. Literally, I wish it was like in percent so we could actually hear the applause, because it would be there. So to start off, I always like to ask people, who are they when they are not creating? What brings you joy? What things are characteristic to who you are as people?
Who am I? Well, I'll start because
Hmm.
what I love to do, I love puzzles. I love doing little word games like Sudoku. Um, what else do I like to do? I like to be active, so going to the gym, going walking, hanging out with family. Also, I like to eat. I was gonna say I like to cook, but I think I like to eat more than I like to cook.
Period.
Hmm. Hmm.
Love
And then I would say, actually, I like playing with Legos. A lot of people don't know that I'm a huge Legos. Like we love solving puzzles. So I guess outside of filmmaking, we tend to lean into activities that still mentally challenge us. But yeah, it's relaxing. I do that, and what else? I try to I stay fit as well. We both are pretty active, and I love reading. I read a lot.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. As you mentioned, every creative's pastime and who they are is still a creative at heart.
Yes.
It's like the phrase, I think it was like originated on Twitter, but it was like when something happens, there will be signs. And it's just like as a creative, there will always be signs. Like you don't have to tell
Mhm.
people you're a creator, it's just going to show in what you do, what you
Mhm.
wear, all of the things. So I
Absolutely.
love that. Okay, so I want to talk origin for you both, which
Okay.
Timothy, I know we touched a little bit on yours in your bio,
Mhm.
but Moonlight was the inspiration for you, which quite the place to be inspired by. That
Absolutely.
cinematography and Moonlight, chef's kiss. And
Beautiful.
so I feel like many people see films or creative works and they are inspired to go for it, but they don't know exactly where they want to land. But
Hmm.
with you, did you know immediately, like after seeing Moonlight, you wanted to go in cinematography? Was there always like a little inkling that that's where you want it to be? Tell us about the origin.
That's a great question, Jasmine. So, I started my visual journey as a model first. So, that was kind of my first interaction with the image, right? The visual image. And then it kind of progressed from there to the moving image. I realized I wanted to be an actor. And, I still am an actor and I had a great acting career. And then there's something that happens where divine intervention, where God comes in to the picture and he opens your eyes to something that you didn't think was ever going to be on your journey. There's this saying, it was like, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him what you're going to do.
Ooh, wee.
And-
Listen, he be chuckling. He be up there. I mean, no snot, snort. Yeah, for sure.
so it kind of I didn't expect to be moved like that by Moonlight, and it just stuck with me. And I said, I don't know how, but I would like to contribute to storytelling from the visual side. And that kind of started me off on this journey of trying to figure out this journey of trying to figure out, okay, how does that work? And I was a manager at Sweet Auburn Seafood in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to Sweet Auburn Seafood. It is now
From
shut down.
humble beginnings.
Yeah. And I was standing outside and I saw the Georgia State sign, like light lit up at night, and I was like, I think I want to go to film school, and and I applied and I got in, and shout out to Kareen Snoot. That's her last name, Kareen Snoot. She was a professor there. Had absolutely no clue how to. I just walked into this woman's office. I walked into the film department.
Wow.
It's Leo season. This just might be the Leo in me. But I walked in and I said, "Excuse me, I don't know." I was like, "Apply." I just walked into her office and I said, "I want to tell stories. I want to, whatever my spiel was." And she looked at me for like 3 seconds, and she reached into her desk and said, "Okay, first step. Here's what you need to do. When you write your essay to get into the school, send it to me first. Okay, I want to read it." And she just kind of held my hand and she just helped me through the process. And it just forever changed my life. Georgia State gave me the foundation to be a cinematographer, giving me access to equipment, giving me the space to fail, to experiment, to figure out who I am, what kind of stories I want to tell. And I got to meet some really great filmmakers while I was there that I still stay in touch with. And from there, I just, when I graduated, I was relentless at telling myself, like, okay, I went to school for this. This is the thing that I'm going to do when I get out. And I just wasn't going to take any other, path other than that.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That's also really cool to know. I didn't know you kind of started off in acting or wanting to be in acting, which theoretically you still are, but that's always so interesting to see how people
Hmm.
pivot, like being in front of the screen to behind the camera and all the things. Okay, and we'll definitely circle back to that point you made about failing, because I absolutely love that. Laniqua, you actually didn't start in media at all. We want to know about this origin, the pivot. Please tell us about that.
Okay, I like that word pivot. So I started. My background is in psychology, so I got my bachelor's at Agnes Scott College in Decatur, Georgia. As and then right after I went straight to my master's and went into counseling. There is where I met Tim because we were part of this program called Ideal. Ideal is for students with mild learning disabilities. So I was there as their intern counselor, and I think Tim was like an assistant, like graduate assistant.
Graduate assistant.
And we were there because we both played basketball in back in the day. So we were there helping the students who wanted to be active. So we would take them to the gym, and that's how we met. And I started to learn more about film and what that looks like. Because growing up in a small town in Mississippi, I just know about a job, like going to school to get a job and to work, right?
Oh yeah.
So I didn't really know what the world of film looked like until I met Tim and I was able to help out on his thesis project or film, whatever it's called. I was like, I think that's right. And then it was kind of just like I just came on as like a person who just watched and just taking it. And because I'm in psychology and counseling, I'm observing. So I'm really enjoying watching people collaborate in this space. And then eventually, like watching Tim put the film together, I was like, okay, I can see myself in this world of filmmaking. And so I just originally started helping him with the camera and being his first AC or just being an assistant on set. And then eventually I realized that I kind of like being a little bit more, even more behind the scenes. So I started to pick up editing and realize that it's kind of like a puzzle, kind of like what I like to do. So putting different pieces together and then seeing an outcome was kind of, not kind of, it was just more satisfying for me than being on set in such a high intensity stakes. Being at a desk editing is just a little bit more calm. It does have its like,
Yeah.
intense, and but being you have moments where you're by yourself and then you still get to collaborate. And then in that I still feel like I'm using my therapy and my psychology background because I'm telling somebody I'm helping still, but I'm helping someone tell their vision and tell their story and bring these character stories to life. So yeah, I still do use my psychology. I think it's I forgot who said this, but it was just like, you can all of our transferable skills they are useful and they will move into and actualize into what we are meant to do and what our purpose is.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think it's so interesting too. I think funnily enough, when I was in undergrad and I was trying to make the transition to like TV, film, creative, something, didn't know what yet. But I started off in psychology, and my counselor like urged me. He was like, I promise there are so many people in the media industry that have psychology degrees. And I'm like, I don't know what the correlation is. Maybe somebody will get to it. But I think like media is such a people's game, or it's like even when I was in psychology, like you mentioned, it's like the things that really stuck out to me were the stories. And I think there's just, you can find that in anything. There's always going to be a story in everything. But I think it's so beautiful that even now you find yourself still using that. And I also think it's so cute that like you started off as like Timothy's like assistant. Like, yeah, I think once you marry someone or you're in a relationship with like a creative, like accept that you are like my forever PA.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's it.
So in short, we can say nepotism.
I love it though.
Basically. And I'm here for that. We are all here for black. Yep. Period. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so along those lines, I would love to know what it looks like to work creatively with your spouse. How do you guys balance personal and business, and how do they potentially help one another? Which I can imagine if you have chemistry naturally, that translates on set. But tell us about the dynamic. How does it work? I know you mentioned, Laniqua, you started off as like PA and then you kind of transition and then now you're like, put me in an edit booth. What does that look like for you guys?
What's interesting about that question is that we get asked from other people, and then immediately it's like, man, I couldn't do that. Y'all know, I don't know how y'all make that work. And I'm happy you asked that question, Jasmine, because I feel like it's important to bring awareness to something that, because there's a lot of we have come across like quite a bit of couples who are working together who are in the film industry, because it kind of seems like that's what it's like shaping into, like little small boutiques, and it usually starts with ecosystems of couples, friends, family, people coming together to make art, because art is so expensive. And then for us, we're best friends before we are business partners. So every time we gear up to tell a story, we get excited, because it's like one, we're both children at heart, so it's just like, ooh, I get to play with my friend, and that's what art feels like a lot of the times. Like, you just get to go play. We have to deal with so much. I have a saying, I'd be like, life be lifing, and we got bills and we got everything else we need to do. You got to tend to yourself, and it's just so much going on. But in between the space of fade in and fade out, you just get to be a creative. And she has such a beautiful mind and the way she sees the world, and we just it's easy. We've never you're right, like,
Yeah, I think what really helps us too, like, I feel like the business part helps our communication also in a way, because when I do come to set, because I do enjoy being on set now as the editor instead of the I feel like it's more kind of like learning how to it's like, because there's different forms of communication. You communicate one way at work than you do at home, but it does help, like, with expression and putting like thoughts to words and feelings to words, because you're in this space in another person's world trying to explain what they're going through. And so when you get home and you're just talking about anything, it just really helps our communication. I really feel like that.
Yeah, we challenge each other. Art is, just piggybacking off of the, just being expressive. We challenge each other to try to, if there's something we're feeling, whether that's spiritual, like visceral, we'll be like, no, let's
use more words.
Let's try to figure it out. Because, we work in a medium where if you're able to figure that out, it's not just a between us kind of thing. Those who end up seeing the project will appreciate it, that you took the time to figure out what it is that you were trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So in that regard, we realize, like, it's bigger than just us. It's like, no, we got to figure out what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
So that when people see the project, that, the message comes through clearly.
I love that. That's absolutely beautiful. And I feel like, with any kind of duo or dynamic, or, I feel like most times people get a person. So it's like, if I'm a DP, I'm gonna find me a director, and we just gonna be, the dynamic duo. And I think like it's a little bit of a cheat code that you could do, not just life, but like creative and business, and like you said, storytelling with your person. So I absolutely love that. And
we get that a lot, Jasmine. People will be like, so you shoot it and she edited.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
It's not. It really isn't. But also, like, so life ain't fair. Favor ain't fair. None of it. And we are absolutely loving the comments, questions. Remember, as y'all are watching, please feel free to drop those in, so that way if y'all have anything you want to ask these guys, we'll get it in. But tell me a little bit about untraditional films.
Ooh, I'm gonna let Tim start.
Untraditional film. Okay, so here's the story behind untraditional films, Jasmine. I came up with untraditional films in 2019. And this was when I was trying to think about, okay, what is it that if I start a production company, what do I want to call it? And I prayed on it. And I said, what's something that would really fit me? And I said, the power about prayer is when God delivers, he really does. Because when untraditional, most of my life has always been like this untraditional path. I was a Division I athlete. I wasn't like regularly recruited out of high school. I went through such a journey just to get to the University of Miami. It wasn't like senior night at high school, you know where you're going and it's all good and everything. No, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations to get to Division I. And then even when I was there, just, just everything's always been, I've never had a traditional path. And then it just came to me. I said, well, untraditional films. And it kind of, it kind of echoes the stories that we kind of go after.
Gravitate to.
Yeah, kind of gravitate to, and I say that to say it's like, we're really obsessed with the human condition and, stories that are grounded in reality, but, still have a surrealism quality or, sci-fi, but at its core, um, following a human being and dissecting and analyzing the things that human beings go through that cause us to evolve, that make us cry, that make us like wonder, just like figuring out how to survive in this world. And it was so connected to what untraditional films is. And then, yeah, the name came and I was like, it is the only production company literally in the world titled Untraditional Films. So that also was really cool when I found that out. I was like, not gonna have to deal with anybody else having the name. So
no copyright here. Don't have to worry about that. But
it
then
was
also
just
like
easy to make the Instagram, the everything. The
no
satisfaction you
underscores, no
get-
periods. You don't have to
You
add no
know,
extra. Like, come on, listen.
the satisfaction you get when that little green mark, like that little green check mark come up, you're like, this name is available. You're like, yeah.
That's so interesting considering how obviously, untraditional, but it's like that feels like something that someone could have come up with before. But it's also like you mentioned, when God has a way of answering, he's gonna answer, and when he does it, it's like he's gonna deliver. And so the fact that that was like exactly what he gave you, and it was like nobody else had it. It was absolutely meant for you.
And you know what? You saying it that way, Jasmine, just kind of echoes that what's for you is for you.
It won't pass you by.
It won't pass you by, in an industry where we feel like there's so much saturation and it's so easy to feel like, how am I supposed to create, um, original work? It's just like all these things we can question as artists. And then when you just kind of get out of your own way and then, and have confidence that like, no, what's really for me will be for me. My ideas, what any awards that come to me, anything that's going to come is like it's already been planned out. I just have to continue taking the steps and just focusing on the craft and getting better at what I do. So that's what it echoes to me, is that like hearing you say that it was always going to be untraditional films.
Like he was waiting for you. Nobody had it because it was yours.
Yeah.
And God didn't want any like underscores and periods in your name, because like you needed to be the first. You needed to be the original. Everybody else who is untraditional films are gonna have the periods. This comment is taking me out of that screen somewhere. Literally, like God wanted you to be the blueprint, and I love that 1,000%. And I feel like in alignment with that, because I always like to ask and I always like to talk about it, because I believe that we are all created and called for a purpose. Like it is. We don't serve a God that does things by accident or, by coincidence. He is very intentional. And so in that, everything that we are on this earth is meaningful and intentional. And so in that, I believe what we are called to do and purpose to do is also intentional. And so with that, what would you say? And I know like we talked about the name, we talked about like even, you seeing the sign and it was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to go. But what do you think is like the first moment, or at least the most memorable moment for both of you, that confirmed that you are like exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you were created to do? And I be hard to
No. I have one actually. I feel like I was gonna say the premiere weekend that we just had, but I think it's even before that. When we first moved to Florida, I still was trying to find my way in filmmaking, and realizing that editing is what I wanted to do, but learning editing, that was a really tough journey to get through, learning something new at I don't want to say at this age, but just learning it later on, right? So and then
adult, like don't nobody want to do no schooling. I don't want to learn nothing. So I know it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. So, but I applied to Black Girls Film Camp in 2023, and just to be an editor. I had just found out who Chastity was, and she was on my vision board. Didn't know she was a part of Black Girls Film Camp, but when I got the email that I was going to be a part of the 2024 cohort, because I think that was the first year, 2024. Yes, 2024 cohort. It made me tear up. It made me happy, like happy tears. And I was very much like, wow, I was seeing because you had to submit work. And I was like, wow, my peers, and it's my peers that see me and see potential and see growth. And so that is the moment for me where I was like, okay, I'm not just doing this because he's in it or because he's my partner and I want to be in it. It's because I got in myself. So I'm gonna tear up thinking about it. But yeah, that was that was the moment for me. All right,
I
your turn.
absolutely love that. And shout out to Black, before we got to shout out Black Girls Film Camp.
You're right.
Love them. Shout out Chastity J, who was actually on the show. I think it was 2 episodes ago. So literally running through the Black Girls Film Camp roster, because like amazing people with amazing opportunities. I know, like I say the same thing. I didn't have a Black Girls Film Camp growing up myself to be a screenwriter or a filmmaker, but it's like delayed and not denied that I would be able to support,
Yes.
teen Black girls and doing it. And then also like, picking up all the gems, making the connection. So I 1,000% feel that, and all the flowers for Black
Yes.
girls.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, that's my squad right there.
Yeah.
I love me some Black Girls Film Camp. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
So, Jasmine, I think about this story I'm about to tell, and at first I thought it was just a story for acting, but I'm realizing now at this point in my career, it was just for me, to embark on my journey as an artist, not just an actor. And this amazing queen royalty of an actress, Felicia Rashad. I was in LA. And I was out there to see my good friend, Terrell Alvin McCraney. Terrell Alvin McCraney is the writer of In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue, that eventually got adapted to Moonlight, and it was directed by Barry Jenkins. So I was out there to see T, and he asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to come to a play called Head of Passes that stars Felicia Rashad? Now, I said, okay. Now, Jasmine, at this time, I was very early in my career. So I said, I don't even think I deserve to be in this room. So, we get there, I'm there. Okay. I'm sitting next to Trevante Rhodes. Shout out to Trevante. He's also in Moonlight. Wow. Right. On the right of me is Shonda Rhimes.
He said, yeah, we'll put you in there. You asked, answered. Okay.
So the play is incredible. She, Felicia had everybody crying and everything. And then, Terrell asked me, do you want to go backstage and meet Felicia? I said, okay, right? So she comes out elegant, graceful. She's saying hey to everybody. And then she walks up to me and she says, hi there. Hi, Timothy. I said, hi, Miss Rashad. She said, where are you on your journey? And I said, I just graduated from the University of Miami, and I got an exercise physiology degree. And I'm going to try acting for like a year. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go get my master's in something. And she said, okay, that's good. Got your master's. She said, are you an actor? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, okay. If I were to tell you to be back here at 4 a.m. in the morning, what would you do? And then there was a table in there. I said, I'll sleep under this table. I wouldn't leave. I would not miss this opportunity to work with you. I was like, what you trying to tell me? And then she said, but I didn't realize, Jasmine, she was going somewhere with it because she's a storyteller. So she said, how many years did you go to school, Timothy? I said, 5. Okay. 5 years. You want to act for the rest of your life? Man, I got emotional. I was like, I want to be an artist for the rest of my life. I really do. And she said, okay, well, let me ask you a question, Timothy. You were willing to go 5 years to earn something that, forgive me, are you still currently using that? And then I was like, well, no, because I'm here. She said, but yet you're only willing to give yourself 1 year to accomplish something that you claim that you would want to do for the rest of your life. Hmm. She gave me a hug, Jasmine, and she said, "Stay the course, Timothy. Stay the course." And then she just walked off. Now, mind you, Jasmine, here's a full circle moment. 1 year to that same date, I got casted to be in David Makes Man, that's written by Terrell Alvin McCraney, starring Felicia Rashad.
Listen, we got this when the organs play. Do you hear me? This is what it testimony time. Come on, yeah, like wow.
I'll never forget it. To this day, I was outside my trailer and I waved her down. She had her assistants and everything around, and she just looked over at me and said, and that was it. She said she had to go to set, and she just looked at me with like a confirming, like, stay the course.
You know, she wasn't even talking to me, but she was talking to me. Because as you was talking, I felt my edges slowly coming out. Because like, and I'm hold on, and I'm like, oh wait, this wasn't even to me. This is not a creative retelling. But
here's the thing.
Else. But listen,
but it is for you. It is for you, Jasmine, because you know what? When I was in that room and she was speaking to me, other groups of artists just stopped and were listening to the conversation. Like, oh, this is for everybody. This isn't just for Timothy. So it was like I was just being used as the vessel. But when I tell other artists the story, it's literally a gift to say, like, stay the course, because ever since that day, I have never doubted that this is the thing I'm supposed to be doing. I tell Laniqua, she was almost like my angel who helped me through my artistic christening. Right? She helped me. She said she held my hand and said, "It's okay to jump. It will be okay. You will fly. It's okay." Up until that point, I didn't know if I could. I was like, I feel like I'm just going to fall. So she held my hand.
That is amazing. You know, that feels true to who she is. Obviously, we don't know these people. It's like the thing where it's like you can have those parasocial relationships. It's giving Auntie Rashad, and I knew it. Like I knew it, and they gave that. Like
yeah.
Much so, and I absolutely love that she was able to speak to you, speak life into you. Sometimes that's all we need. Somebody to hold our hand, tell us we can do it. That's so beautiful. This is a word. I'm gonna tell you this right now. The folk come from church and then they come here to In Creative Color and they get a word, and I love that for them. It's free game. So, speaking of free game, I want to pivot really quickly because this is good. This is juicy. What would you say is your favorite? And obviously, you know, you can't give them all the secret sauce. You can't give them the recipe to the mom's secret, you know, peach cobbler. You gotta keep it cute. But I would love to know, whatever you're willing to share, what is your favorite cinematography trick or hack? And then Laniqua, I would love to know your favorite editor trick or hack. One that is like, yeah.
You go first.
Wait. Okay. This is a good one, Jasmine. Because I'm trying to think of what I feel like I've been doing a lot of lately. Like my favorite thing to do. My favorite, I would say in this moment, because I'm working on a couple of projects now, I feel like I see myself doing a lot of finding ways to, because there's different moments of the story. So I'm just going to use an example, a flashback. So almost like finding sound. So maybe that's what the trick is, just making sure you have really good sound. And when it comes to sound design, so really just making moments bleed together so they seem seamless. The biggest trick, and I wish I could be more specific, but the biggest trick is just making my editing very invisible. I'd rather the story be more what you pay attention to than my creative edits. When I last saw Chastity, we were just talking about something that I had recently done, and she called me a soulful editor, and I was like, "Oh, I love that."
Ooh, that's like when people compliment your energy and your person. It's like, yeah, that's me. You can't, soulful.
Yeah. I was like, I like that. So but in that, I was like, I don't know what in the editing besides the sound and the music that would have made it to me. Like, this is how I interpreted that it was the sound and the music and just meshing like the moments together in that. So the trick is sound. That's what it is.
But specifically unique to you. I love that.
Yes.
I would my metaphor for Laniqua's edits is like her edits come out like something smooth on the rocks. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's something that you
We
sip
at
it and you.
church.
Oh, I understand. Wine. You talking about wine? I can't water in the wine. It's like the smoothest wine. And let me tell you, because I compliment her all the time about that, and I said, you don't really give an audience a second to leave the world that we're in. You grab them from the beginning, and I said like her fade ins for edit almost feel like, hey, check this out. And then as soon as you're in it, that's it, and then at the end she's like, the end. And you're just like, what did I just watch? That was, so yeah, I would definitely say there's a lot of soul when you piece something together. And for me, my favorite cinematographer who really like my heart is Bradford Young. And some of his titles he shot Selma. He shot When They See Us. That was directed by Ava DuVernay. Both films actually were directed by Ava DuVernay. When you think about it, yeah. And Bradford Young, reason why he means so much to me and why my cinematography is so influenced by him. One, he is the only Black person, man or woman, to be nominated for Best Cinematography in its 100-year existence.
Wow.
Right? And when you think about a fact like that, it inspires you to be like, okay, I want my name to also be up there. I want to take the baton and be there. But Bradford's work, he said something in an interview, and this is going to connect to what I think is one of my, I guess, quote unquote tricks, is that he said, for far too long, we've been passive observers, right, in films. And he says, I believe in being active participants. So my work is very participatory. I love putting the camera on my shoulder, and it's called verite, or it's called, if anybody knows, we call it verite. It's French for, an observational camera. And it kind of became something, I don't have a huge documentary background, but it just felt right when I first picked the camera up. It felt like, especially when you talk about stories, Black stories, right? The power of the camera being in the room and just slightly moving around as if like though we are a part of this situation, trying to work through these human problems, these human situations. Mm-hmm. And it's different than having a camera that's across the room, but more so it's more intimate. We feel like we are now a part of the film. We are participating. We get to actually be engaged. So, and then in combination with that, Jasmine, I have always viewed the world from a very childlike perspective. So even when I get the camera, I go back to those days where I'm at my grandmother's house and I wasn't tall enough to see above the table, and they're playing cards and you hear 94.5 and, hey grandson, go get me something else. So go, this. And so I go back to lineage when I shoot, and I think about all these interesting little perspectives that I remember, and all I'm doing is just taking the camera and putting them in place of that and letting other people see how I see the world. And I think that's the beautiful part about art, is that we all have a very original perspective. Mm-hmm. And when you share that with the world, it really does open people's eyes to like how you feel, how you think. And in that, you're also able to find a familiarity of like, this reminds me of something from my life. Yeah. And that was Bradford's biggest thing, is that Black stories are almost kind of quilted, just like how you have an old quilt and they're made from different textures and different patches, and we're all connected, ancestrally. So it's nice to all of us to individually be sharing our own experiences through our individual lives. And then, I read this in a book and it said that stories are equipment for living, and when you think about it from that perspective, everything just kind of ties into like, oh, okay, this is what we're really doing here. We're sharing stories to help somebody heal, help somebody understand like, oh, I was going through depression and this movie helped me see that. I didn't know I was, so I think, for the both of us, kind of like that's kind of both our strengths, is that we we're very tapped into like humanity. We see people, you know, not just even when we're on set. The PA that's across the room. How you doing today? Good. Oh, yeah, I see you. So we see people, you know. So I think that's like the biggest, I would say, trick or talent, like what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
I love that. And I feel like you can really hear that intentionality behind the purpose, the mission, what you do, why you guys do it, and how you guys explain things. I think someone in the comments dropped speaking about shooting like a jazz musician, and that was hilarious. But I think that's also too like a little bit of a cheat sheet for me when talking to other creatives. It's like these conversations are always like they feel like poetry. They feel like music. The conversations themselves feel like art. I think like I love that my show is called In Creative Color, but the background of it, funnily enough, it was inspired by a trend on Twitter where it was like the art versus the artist. And so it was the actual artist showing their art, and then it showed the artist. And I think so many times, like in the creative space, specifically art, but like in the creative space, when we talk about artistry in general, which I love how you refer to yourself as an artist, is that there are so many times where people could see our work, but never see us. And so I want to know the stories behind it. I want to know why you created this. I want to know what went into like you saying, okay, I'm gonna shoot, or like I'm picking up the camera and this is why I do it this way. Like absolutely love that. So thank you for gracing us with that beautiful explanation that I feel like is exactly what I'm looking for when I have these conversations. And then I feel like you touched on it a little bit in that answer, but this is a great question that I wanted to highlight. What's something you've seen recently that you felt charged you with your editing, Laniqua, and then your cinematography, Timothy?
That's a good question. So I was just watching Reasonable Doubt. So I just started watching Reasonable Doubt, actually. I've been wanting to get into it. And I'm editing something right now that I didn't realize was Reasonable Doubt was going to help me. It's not the exact same story at all. I'm doing a short film. Reasonable Doubt is a show. But there was just a moment where the main character, she's going through something, and then she has a flashbacks, and then it comes back to her. So it was just the moment that she was having that felt very organic, and she was up, and then we were all happy for her. So it was the way it was making me feel, because at first I wasn't paying attention to the editing, but then I realized after the climax of the episode, because it's almost kind of like a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, it made me feel like it made me feel. So I was not wondering, I really just wanted to be like, oh, I love how that made me feel. I want to take the same feeling and put it into the short film that I'm doing now to help in that and bring it all to like a final, just a final resolution in the film. Reasonable Doubt is excellent. It really is. And the filmmakers that are a part of it, I was like, wow, I didn't know all these great people were a part of Reasonable Doubt. But I'm really talking about if anybody wants to see what I'm talking about, it's the first season episode. It's either the last episode of the first season or the last episode. No, it's the second to last episode, where I don't want to give any spoilers away in case somebody want to go.
Literally, somebody's like, "Dang, I was watching Reasonable Doubt. It's on my watch list."
I won't do it. Just go watch the episode. But she's having flashbacks in the car. That's all I'm gonna say. And
there you go.
Really helped with what I was trying to. I'm trying to convey a feeling. I'm not really trying to copy and edit. I just wanted to. I just want to replicate or duplicate the feeling that I had, because I know we keep using this word feeling, but as a psychologist, it's important about how we feel and how we leave people feeling. So that Reasonable Doubt, I literally was watching that Thursday night, Friday night, I don't know, but yeah.
I love that. And I think that's important to note too, like as storytellers, as filmmakers, as creators, it may feel like, oh, you just make movies, but it's like there's such a responsibility that I think some people don't, either they deny it or they don't think about like the heftiness of like bringing to light things. So it's like, sure, we're telling stories and sure it's to entertain, but it's also like there are some films that like inspired me to do this, or like, you know, you mentioned earlier, Timothy, like I didn't even know I was struggling with depression until I saw it portrayed so beautifully in this film. I think
Mhm.
sometimes as creators, like we can, I believe we get it, but it's like there's such a responsibility in the stories that we're telling, which is why it's so like diversity matters in these things, because it's like everybody can't tell any story, and I think that's where it gets a little dangerous. It's like y'all telling stories that shouldn't be told, or you're telling this story and you're not thinking about the importance of like how it's shot, or like, you know, even thinking about like 13 reasons, is it 13 reasons or 13 reasons why? But I remember that being a really big thing where it's like this is some heavy things, but it's like people do need to see that. But I think it's important to note like we gotta walk with eggshells on how exactly we're telling this story, because it's so gentle, so fragile. So I absolutely love that. Timothy, you were gonna say something.
For for me, I would say the most recent thing that really inspired me as a creative, specifically on the cinematography, it will be Sinners.
Ugh.
So, shout out to Autumn. She's an amazing cinematographer, first woman to ever win Best Cinematography at the Oscars. And then, just even in that historical milestone in itself, I love personally, like spiritually, I align with pushing the threshold. I love when my films, just if it's in a line of films, it just feels different. And something about Sinners and the way that, like, the dedication to the science of motion picture and film. She talked to Ryan Coogler, and they created a visual language that I think everybody who has seen
Yeah.
Sinners can just agree. Like, even when the first image comes up and the car is pulling up, you just transport it. Like, what are we watching? What's and and then to think somebody is behind that camera creating that image, like, it inspired me. It's just beautiful. So, Preacher Boy, that's it. Yeah, when Preacher Boy pulled up in that car and, man, walked through the church, and it just, that film, everything about it, Ryan's dedication to not just being a filmmaker, um, but uh, what do you call it? He is
Researcher, maybe?
a researcher. I was going to say an archivist. Like,
Investigator.
an investigator. I
All the
mean,
SAT words.
he's,
Come on. Y'all
you
better
know
be
what I'm
putting these in your
saying?
work, man.
It's just like, man, Sinners was really like,
Historian.
historian. I would really say he's an historian. Yeah,
Yeah.
he makes sure he has his I's dotted and his T's crossed. Like, there is always intention
Yeah.
behind every frame that he puts in a movie. He can pull up some form of, like, old photo, that's from Gordon Parks, or he'll pull up photography from the civil rights era, and you'll see it exactly in the film. And that's what really inspires me. Somebody who's able to be so grounded in Black history and knows how to showcase that on a global stage in such a very beautiful, very honest, very raw, unapologetic way. You know, while also just being a really good storyteller, like knowing how to entertain people, because it's like it starts off with two brothers who want to start a juke joint, and then vampires.
Yeah. Like, oh, wait, oh, racism? Wait a minute. Like,
you know
yeah.
So, even in that, just pushing the storytelling threshold of, like, he didn't know it was gonna, and shout out to, Whitney Johnson, director of The Lizard. We had one best film for The Lizard, and our goal going into it was, how can we take a thriller, a genre of film that's not always the front runner when it comes to best picture at an award show. And we were really inspired by Sinners. We were just like, you know what?
That and They Clone Tyrone.
They Clone Tyrone is another one. Yes, They Clone Tyrone.
It's like, what is going on here? Like,
Oh my God.
Black people, just Black people, and it's like, oh, racism, and then it's like, oh my God. Yeah.
They Clone Tyrone is also that is that's here in the heart. The way it's shot and the way how moody it is. Oh my goodness. As a cinematographer, I'm like obsessed with that film. Yeah.
I love, especially as creators, it's like we could never just watch movies anymore. We can never like enjoy it's like, this was shot on this, or it's like, they did a such and such cut. It's like kind of annoying, but it's also like superpower where it's like,
It
It
is.
is.
they did a 3-second crossfade with a jump cut, and they're like, shut up, we can't hear. Be quiet. Okay, cool, wonderful. Well,
Jasmine, we understand.
I love it. I feel that, and oh my god, just great bars, great gems. I think you dropped, and I think it's really beautiful too when you're able to talk about the things that inspire you, and like that in itself can shape taste. I don't know. You can't teach taste. You can't teach talent. Like you just raw, unfiltered talent and taste. It's like, and being able to hear like a little bit of, okay, these are the things that it's like, as I'm shooting, I think of these, and it's like, oh, no wonder we making award-winning films over here on traditional films. I mean,
Precisely, though. Precisely. Yep.
oh my goodness! And speaking of the award-winning films, we're gonna show the trailers for them because the folks got to see this. They absolutely have to see this. Of course, y'all have to go follow both Laniqua and Timothy and Untraditional Films. But we're gonna give y'all a little taste of what they be doing over there because good stuff. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the projects that we're gonna see here, including The Lizard, which sweep. I mean, come on. Okay, so we will start with Sanctuary.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? You don't even talk. You don't say anything.
What do you want, Don?
Every day I wake up pretending like I've got it all figured out. Like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. I was trying to survive too. I didn't know how to be there for you, Rain.
Well, first of all, I want to point out I saw directed by Timothy and Laniqua. So Laniqua is giving you were in the field. Tell us a little bit about this project. Obviously, you know, a trailer gives us a little tidbit, but we want to know a little bit more about the process, the film. Yeah.
You want to give the background?
Yeah, so the film started off as a short story. When I was getting my master's, I had a classmate named Timby Tanis. Shout out to Timby. And she said, "Hey, I have this little story. I don't know if you plan to do something with it one day." She's like, "You should turn it into a short." And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years after film school, I happened to like, you know what? I'm gonna adapt this into a short film. Like we write original work as well. But I wanted to challenge myself to be like, okay, so as a director, how do I adapt somebody else's like writing and see and then find myself in there? And then also, so Sanctuary, it explores the mother-daughter relationship. And so, for me, my dad passed away when I was 7.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And my mother, did such an incredible job raising me. But I knew when we got to the point of going into principal photography, or like even when we were just writing the script, I said, well, I'm going to lean heavily on you, Laniqua, because who's going to understand the mother-daughter relationship better than, than to have a partner? Because it's like, if we were making something about the son to mother, I mean, obviously I'd have a lot of emotional subtext, a lot of context on that. But I really leaned on Laniqua to make sure that every time we were going into a scene and there were a few times, right, is that I knew we were making something that would really align and be authentic. When there was a few scenes where Laniqua was like, it reminded me of talking to my mom.
Wait, I didn't see that 'cause she's in the room.
But just those conversations, just navigating like, okay, I get it when, and I think more than anything, everything comes down to love and relationships. And even amongst the child, the parent, most of the time it's what I'm trying to get you to understand me and you want me to understand you. And, Rain, who's played by Marlena Robinson, incredible actress. I found myself in Marlena, even with her being a young woman, because she's at an age in the film where she, there's a line where she's like, all of my friends are moving away, getting adult jobs. I can't even keep a job at a coffee shop. So it's like that when you're adult enough to be considered a young adult, but you're still navigating all of those, like, I got to do what? Taxes? Like, huh? All these different things. And it's like, oh man, how do I navigate all of that? And like, granted, even having a mother in her life, and I thought it was really important to shine a light on Dawn, who she still has her own dreams and aspirations. And I think we think about that when it comes to our parents, they make sacrifices, right? To make sure that we have everything that we need, but their dreams and goals never leave them. They still want to be that entrepreneur or own a business. So, we had a lot of fun, just like, once again, catering to each individual character and making sure that every character served a purpose. Every character was going to be speaking to somebody in the audience. And then that's how it was just kind of set up. And then we shot it, produced it in Orlando, Florida.
I think it's also important to know that when we first were wanting to tell the story, the original story was that there was infidelity. And because we wanted to be untraditional, we didn't want both of our dads in our lives, we didn't experience that. So we wanted to show the man, like, it just didn't work out between the man and the woman, and that was okay. And so we didn't want the story to be about the reason why this family broke up is because of this man. I don't have bad relationships with the men in my life. So I didn't want the story to be that. So we really were trying to figure out in the writer's room, like, what does that look like when it's not what the story that we always see portrayed about a Black man. So I think that was the main thing I wanted to add to everything that Tim said, because that's pretty much it. It was a great family, small skeleton crew. We picked some students up from Full Sail, where we both work. We pulled Alex from Black Girls Film Camp because we worked on her film.
Shout out to Alexandra Bonner.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a really great experience. My first time directing. So it was fun. It was really fun.
That's pretty cool. And I know you touched on this briefly, but I guess I would love to know, before we head into the next film, what do you do differently when being a cinematographer or an editor for someone else's project versus your own? Like, how do you make that distinction? I know as an editor, fellow editor, it's like I have to remind myself this is not my project. Like, I'm just babysitting. I'm helping to make sure the baby survives, lives, and gets to the end.
That's a good word, babysitting.
So for me, I think it's easy for me because of my background in therapy. I know how to compartmentalize. I'm really much like, I think I have to remind Tim sometimes that it's not our film. It's okay. If this is their vision, you got to be able to take what they're saying and interpret it and translate it into what makes sense artistically for me, because you chose me for my vision. You chose me for my talent. So you're going to trust that whatever you tell me, I'm going to be able to translate it into what it is that you're asking for. I'm not going to make it mine because it's not mine. I'm going to say my cool ideas for my stuff.
Listen, period. Period. Delicate balance for sure.
And I would say, being, the cinematographer, when I come on to projects that aren't like my IP, same like Laniqua, but I think I thread the line between, okay, how can we pull off this really cool shot, right? But then keeping it grounded in, like, I'm here to give the director what they need, though, right? My job, because I play with so many technical toys, that it can get real vast real quick. And then the camera comes through the roof. And then after it comes through the roof, I wanted to push through the room, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
So it's also me having to cradle and be there for the director, and say that we are going to give you the film that you are envisioning, while also being realistic and saying that in filmmaking, everybody on this set is also seeing a different film, though, right? And we all want to work into tandem together, but knowing that if the director wrote this is what, but also being okay with, because what do we say? There's 3 films you make: the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you edit, right? So I think over
T.
so over time, just being okay with letting go and let God. Like, if we did the pre-production, if we know that every frame is intentional, it's emotive, we know that it serves the story, then I walk away from it as a DP. Like, I feel very accomplished. Nowadays, it used to be, Jasmine, I started off and I had a mentor. I have a mentor named Logan Coles. Logan Coles is one of the few Black executives in Hollywood. He was the executive producer and best friend to Chadwick Boseman. God rest his soul. And we met Logan Coles at the NAACP convention in 2021. We participated.
I think it was 22.
22?
Yeah.
We participated in the NAACP cinematic shorts competition, and we won. And
yeah.
And from that, I was very blessed to, he just ended up being a mentor to me. And he told me once, he said, I get it. You make beautiful images. You can capture the sunset and get a lens flare. He was like, I get it. You make some beautiful images. He was like, well, what are you trying to say?
Ooh.
And then I said, well, like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say with the camera? Yeah. And then that caused me to think about it. And I said, well, now I really shoot for the edit, being, my partner being an editor. Now we have conversations all the time about, when we're on set, you think we need this shot? Especially knowing that when we're on set, time is money, and majority of the time on independent sets, we don't have the luxury, right, of, we got like 5 more shoot days, we're gonna be all right. No, it's almost like, no, we only have this location for 3 hours and we have to decide right now how many setups are we gonna do here. So now it's like I've kind of evolved it into a, that Timothy that's still there. I'm gonna produce an image that's gonna make you like, oh, this is beautiful. But now what ranks in hierarchy is, does it serve the story?
That's good.
I could be selfish and, and take 30 minutes to make a beautiful shot. But then Jasmine, as a director, can get to the edit room and say, I love this shot, but I'm not going to be able to use it.
Woo.
So in reality, did I do my job? And now I know there's a world where I can still produce beautiful shots for you, but also they serve your story.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And I feel like that goes literally hand in hand with this comment, which I had to bring it back. Making movies is the ultimate dying of self. Trusting people to do their role, or like you just mentioned, it's like, sure, I can get the glory and turn up and make this film as beautiful as possible with this shot. But it's like we get to the end and it's like, was it worth it? Like, was it worth the 30 minutes that we spent on that when we could have really catered to this scene to help push the story along?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think that's so important to be able to, it's like when they say like good leadership is knowing when to let others lead, or like knowing the moments.
Yes.
Like, I think it's the same thing in creating, like being a good creator or a good storyteller is being like, okay, I don't need to shine in this moment, or at least for this thing. Like, I think this is where I'm gonna just toss it off to the editor. Like, I know they're gonna help bring this to life. So I absolutely love that.
I love that. Great pictures with no story is Instagram.
Quite literally.
No, but it is. I like to say that I like for my cinematography to be a guiding hand. Right?
Yeah.
I don't.
The editing, it needs to be invisible.
Absolutely. I don't want to intrude on the story. I love when people, and they're like, people, and it's usually people who are in the industry. They're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. but they're not, but it's not so beautiful that it's like, all I could focus on was the cinematography.
How pretty it was. Yeah.
Because it's even caused me to think about, what do we call a beautiful image? It could be beautifully ugly, right? Like the lighting doesn't always, in all of my frames, like I tell Laniqua when people ask me, it's like, I'm not a technically perfect DP. I always lean towards emotion. So I'm not a, tell you all about the gear and all of this. And I do get nerdy. I know all about it, but I still go into it with, I want to make somebody feel something. If they walk away saying, man, I felt that, good, we did our job.
Which I think is important, because there have definitely been some projects I've seen where I left and I was like, oh my God, that was the most beautiful thing I ever seen. But what was it about? Anybody did I miss something? Like, was I not paying it? Maybe I need to watch it again. And it's like, nah, it's like, it's a good thing you're pretty, because otherwise, child, I would not have remembered it. And
that kind of right.
I think it's really beautiful that you're able to see that. Even like, again, going back to like your bio and what you say, like, you know, the company and your work is about, when you say intimate, even like the words that you're using, when you were like, I want, you know, I don't want to intrude. It's like, that's very intentional. And this is, I promise, not an untraditional like pitch. You guys got to hire them. But it's like, I think that's what's missing in the industry, in storytelling. People who think about these things before you just hire somebody who's going to pick up a camera and shoot your film without thinking about like the intentionality of it. So, beautiful. And speaking of beautiful and shots, and somebody dropped it in, shout out that 360 and the lizard. That was going to be the last one. But we're going to go ahead and segue, because that one did his big one. Ladies and gentlemen, the trailer for The Lizard.
I'm so happy. Look at her face.
Has anyone
Wash her face.
You need to go back.
She was so happy.
Y'all gotta see it. They can't see it right now. That's why y'all gotta go follow Timothy and Laniqua and Untraditional Film. So when it comes out and it's available for view and you can see it, because my goodness, speechless as I was when I saw it. Tell us a little bit about The Lizard. And again, like, obviously pubbing the heck out of them, but you got to follow them on Instagram, because I think it was Timothy. It may have been Laniqua posted like the BTS of like the color grading. I know you gave us like some behind the scenes and just kind of like inner workings of how you wanted to shoot things, the 360 shot. Give us a little bit about The Lizard, because my goodness.
Ooh, for me, working with Whitney, it was great, because she was very much like, this is what I want, but she was very open to collaboration. When it came to the music, she hadn't thought about the music, so she was very open to what I was going to show her. I know I said They Clone Tyrone, which is really where the music lives from, but I showed her the soundtrack from The Substance, and it really, she was just like, okay, because she didn't really understand it. But as far as like when the edit came, when I turned in my first cut, it was pretty much done. But I thank Tim for that, because he was like next to me on some free sound site, and he was just sending over sounds. And we just
I'm her AE sometimes.
Period. Listen.
So it was easy to be able. Well, what I like to do, I really love to give people a first cut that feels finished, and so that way when they are able to watch it through, now they can give feedback that's not like, oh, you may be doing sound here, but I would love some sound here. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's just a first cut. So now I really learned to make sure that for The Lizard, it was just fun to edit, because it was different. The first film we did in Black Girls Film Camp was like a coming of age drama, and then the next one was more kind of like same thing, right? But it was centered around COVID and mental health. And then this one, I think, was very relatable, because it had to do with our skin. And growing up as a teenager who had acne, I very much related to it, and feeling like, oh my God, people are looking at me because of this. And I feel like I'm outcasted from my friends, because I got to hide this thing. And I don't know, but it was really relatable, and I really wanted it to feel relatable, but also, like Tim said earlier about, taking a psychological thriller, and how do we elevate it to feel more like a holistic film. But on the day of production, it was crazy. The time, the location, it like having to rework the script because we just ran out of time here. It was a day, but we got through it. So.
And I would say, for me, Jasmine, I'm your true, like I'm obsessed with the story act structure, chapters 1, 2, and 3. And that has become a strong point in my cinematography, because I always ask myself, what does this film look like chapter 1, 2, and 3? Can I create 3 different looks that cohesively come together and take people on a journey? And understanding that the film's gonna only be 6 to 7 minutes. But, and I even teach my students at Full Sail, I was like, in everything that we do, there's always 3 chapters, 1, 2, and 3. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And what I've kind of become like a thing with these films with Black Girls Film Camp is like, I'll take the tools that are at our disposal as artists, and I use them. I storytelling through aspect ratios. Whether that's the first part of the film is going to be 2:3:9, and then by the end of the film it's 16:9, because it's like something has happened. The character has figured out something. There's a resolution. So for the lizard, I knew I wanted it to go from like, I was a little inspired by I think I said this to you, but Zola, the film Zola. Janixa Bravo is the director of that film. That's kind of a little film that came out around COVID, or came out after COVID, that a lot of people don't know about, but Zola is a really good film. And the cinematographer and the director, they based the film off of a painting.
The editor is also a Black woman.
Yeah.
She edited
Joy McMillan.
She edited Moonlight.
Yeah, she edited Moonlight. Joy McMillan is still the only Black woman to be nominated for Best Editing at the Oscars. Joy McMillan. She is absolutely incredible. And in this painting, Jasmine, it was a painting of heaven, earth, and hell. And they all had 3 different color palettes. And that's how they based the film Zola. They said, okay, the first part of the film is going to start off like heaven. You just met your best friend. These are 2 girls. They're getting along. And then all of a sudden, the palette becomes a little neutral, because you start finding out some things about individuals. Then all of a sudden,
it gets dark.
So, I just played around with the palettes like that. From the first part, everything's going well for her. We have a girl whose everything's going right. So it's a neutral palette, very saturated. And then as she starts to, notice the pimples start appearing, the palette starts to get a little wonky. You start seeing different hues of color get introduced. Then by the time we get to the end of the film, we've just completely gotten rid of that palette. And now we've gone to more of a cooler side on the, on the color wheel, cyan, blue, white, when she's in the, what do you call it?
The mental health.
Yeah. So it's like you get to experience. I'm a huge fan of the term emotional expressionism, and that's using color to really communicate emotions. And I really got inspired by a cinematographer. His name is Marcel Rev, and he shoots Euphoria. And Euphoria is one of my all-time favorite shows. I love the way they use color, and that's what I kind of leaned on for the lizard. I said, I really want people to feel this film. And it was cool because we're from, I'm from Florida. So there were a lot of lizards to shoot. So all those lizards you saw,
that was you? Come on.
You saw in the film, those were real lizards. I actually
ain't no stock footage. Yeah, I know that's right.
So, it's things like that. Me and Laniqua really put our heart into a film. And I think that's why people really feel it, is because everything, if we were cutting up little newspaper pieces, we take our time to really okay, that's the piece that needs to go in there.
What does it say?
What does it say?
Because I'm not putting
anything in there. Yeah. So
it's beautiful. Y'all have absolutely got to check out The Lizard when it is available and streaming, and for everybody to see all the things. And then the last one is I'm fine.
Question though is, how are you?
We're good. We're making it. April's really coming around.
It's good. I'm glad she's coming around. But what I'm asking is how are you?
I don't know why I get a little emotional seeing this trailer every time I see it.
That is the hardest thing that any woman can go through,
Great Jehovah.
Hey!
What?
April!
Why are you yelling and banging on this door?
I was worried.
Oh, well, that's the most emotion I've seen out of you in the past 3 months.
Seriously, that's not fair.
Well, welcome to life, Matt. Newsflash, it's not fair.
I'm fine.
Man. Oh, goodness.
Oh my god.
You know how like you get dressed, like you throw a fit, you like, oh yeah, I'm eating. Like that's literally what y'all just did, and I love that because I had the same reaction, but obviously I haven't seen it. I didn't, but it was like seeing y'all all be like, yeah, we did our thing with that one.
Well,
Tell us about it.
You want to know, if you don't mind me starting first, you know what it is, Jasmine. That was so shout out to Chad Chambers. That's one of my best friends.
He was in Sanctuary. I don't know.
He was in Sanctuary too. He's a beautiful chocolate man with the beard. He was also yeah. So Chad actually brought the script I'm Fine to us, and it is based on the story of his nephew. His nephew and his wife experienced a miscarriage, and Chad was influenced to write a script because he said, I don't feel like we really shine a light on what men go through emotionally when we talk about a miscarriage. So that's why even in the trailer, you even heard, and that was actually his wife's mother saying on the phone, and the whole film, we just really wanted to drive home the point. Every time, like every conversation, it was like, oh, how's your wife? How, and Chad played it so honestly and so bravely. I recently heard something, I'm going to butcher it, but, and it said something about, man, it said a man could be dealing with depression or anything, and something along the lines of nobody would ever know, or something like that, right? And looking back on the trailer, that's what it made me think about, because Laniqua always has conversations with me too, because I can get into a mode where I'm just working, and then she'll stop me one time and be like, how do you feel?
That's that psychology degree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but absolutely. I tell her all the time. I say, I thank God for you being in. Yeah. Because, and no, like Jasmine, here's the thing though. I've always said since meeting Laniqua, she has caused, or she has given me the opportunity. She has helped me address emotions, like really stop and let things live. And she's given me the permission not to show any chinks in the armor, man. And that's what I'm Fine was really built around. It was, it's this idea that men, and it wasn't a film that we per se wanted to have a narrative to say that, because I was raised by a woman, and what women have to deal with on the daily. She knows I'm a huge Malcolm X. Like, I've read his autobiography 4 times, and Malcolm said the most disrespected human being in America is the Black woman, right? And that is absolutely true, right? And then being a Black man, understanding the importance of showcasing stories, capturing stories that other Black men, like, it's innately inside of me to create films that create safe spaces for Black women, because I was raised by a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until we started shooting I'm Fine, and even now watching the trailer, I started to understand the importance of making sure I was making stories for Black men, being a Black man. And that's why when we were looking at it just now, I got a little emotional, because I said, man, because even in the past 2 weeks, I was in Atlanta, I was in principal photography for 2 projects, and, I'm a professor. There was just so much going on. And then like Laniqua, she'll get on the phone with me and she's like, are you okay?
Have you eaten?
Have you eaten? Have you? And the crazy part is, just like the film, it's so easy for us as men to be like, I'm fine. And you say it with like a smile, but deep down it's like, no, I'm hurting pretty bad. I could cry right now. But that also understand my role. I understand, like, as a Black man, and that's why I feel like it's so important, right? Because even at the end, I don't want to tell the film, but it's like
everything.
the importance of having a Black woman who cradled his emotions and said, when he finally breaks down, it was just open arms of like, come here. Right. And that it's just like, it's a powerful film. Mm-hmm. And, in regards to unresolved emotions and knowing how to express those to your partner.
Yeah. I don't think I really have much to add to that because that was great. I really enjoyed being a part of it. I was on set for this. I think I was doing DIT, but just it was the story. I love being a psychologist or a therapist, and then being able to help on set in that regard as well because it is a heavy topic talking because some people who I I actually talked to like some family members and told them about the premise of the story. And they're like, I experienced that too. I just ain't never told nobody, which is why I said family member and I ain't say who. Um, but it's real to know that you are making a difference by shedding light to a topic that's not readily talked about, or maybe it's talked about, but not in a bigger sense. So
Yeah.
it really mattered to me to make sure that we told the story from, it didn't have to be one person's perspective, or it didn't even have to be like a general perspective, but even just one person relates to maybe 5 other people. And that's all that really matters to me because I love for people to feel like they're not alone and they do belong and they do have a community of people that will understand them. So that's really what the story was for me. It really was.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy and Laniqua Richardson. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you all so much for all the gems, all the bars, all the insight. Tell us where we can find you guys, which we know has been flashing across the screen the entire time, where we can find y'all, where we can find untraditional films. If there was anything we talked about today or that we showed that they can see, let us know where to see it. And if there's anything, we want to allude to that's coming up in the pipeline for y'all, let us know where we can divert our attention to, because this is good.
I'll go first. So you can find me Instagram. I don't remember my TikTok, y'all, but it's one out. But Instagram is, I forgot it. I think it's Laniqua Collins 14. There you go. It's on the screen. And then I would love to highlight the film that me and Jasmine are going to be working on together. I have some other ones, but yeah, me and Jazz are going to work together, y'all. So stay tuned. More fire coming. So yeah, I'll let you do untraditional.
That was cute. You made her giggle on that. You said, "Yeah, and then for me, it's Timothy M. Richardson across most platforms, like all platforms. It's Timothy M. Richardson, and
don't forget the M. Is an M in between.
Yeah, Timothy M. Richardson. My middle name is Morris. I have my granddad's middle name. And,
there you go. That something about that gets sold.
You know what I'm saying? And I have a few projects on the pipeline. There's something that, so I just recently I'll say the projects I just finished up. And then, so I just completed a short called Leading Lady. It's a love story that was executive produced and starred in by Marlena Robinson, being edited by Laniqua. And I wrapped principal photography on a competition show that's called House of Signs. Yeah. So it is a show that is about astrology and who can be the best sign. They compete in, in little competitions, and you get to see. Yeah. So that's also shout out to Moon, shout out to Lucian. They amazing filmmaking couple in their own right. And I just want to also say, Jasmine, I want to give you flowers. I have to give you flowers for this.
We ain't got none.
Yeah. For this platform. Yeah.
Laniqua, you guys.
Got to give you flowers for this platform. Even when we first got on, and I was just looking at, first time hearing about StreamYard and just the overall elegance and how you created this format, how you
cultivated the space for us.
I
was very comfortable.
Even the questions, you asked and it's just all very impressive. And, we just need more women who look like you doing this in this space, shining light on artists whose stories that, will inspire people. I think I saw a comment on here that said, somebody said, this is inspiring me to pursue my dreams.
Yeah.
And it's in moments like that you realize you're really doing God's work, because like, although this is great for Jasmine, right, then you have those who tune in, and like you said, didn't know I was about to come from church and get another word. And let me tell you, that artistic spiritual word, man, it hits for those who, because we hear sermons and and that hits us in a way. And then there's also parables when it comes to art. I always say this, that art is a spiritual transaction.
My goodness.
And even in what you're doing here, dedicating your time on a Sunday, you have things you're working on, projects that are in post-production, projects that are in the conceptualization phase, and you're still carving out time because something called you to this. And you're saying like, hey, even if right now Jasmine's like, even if I don't see the full vision, that's okay though, because the staircase of faith means I just need to keep stepping. And God's like, keep doing this, because I promise you, it's just, and then you're going to find yourself in a place where, and I see this in your future, like, I just be having conversations with the most people in the industry, because it's like, because your energy is so pure.
Yes, it is.
And we're both very big on energy ourselves. And this entire interview has just been incredible. You're incredible. And we want to thank you, for having us on.
Of course, it was an honor. And again, listen, the people don't know, I'd be leaving here like, this was a coffee chat. We just had like, y'all were just intruding. You just happened to be invited. Oh my goodness, look at the nugget.
Oh, you see the baby? Yeah, she
said it's been long enough.
So literally, she's like, okay, now me, this is who I am. Yeah. Tell them about me.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. This was beautiful. 1,000%, like literally flowers on flowers on flowers. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Any final words? I mean, anything that has fed you lately, anything that you're like, I heard this and I want to pass it along.
Let's see. I always share this with my students, but I always say, just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening.
I love that.
I like to tell artists that, because once again, we get very like, why ain't my movie come out yet? Or mine's is, just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening. And having peace in that, and understanding that, oh, okay, it is happening for me. Got it. Okay.
That's good. Yeah. Best believe I'm putting that in my back pocket again. This is for me, and the people are just happy to be here because it's like, this is for me. Thank you.
No, absolutely.
I absolutely had a blast. Thank everybody so much for watching. Timothy and Laniqua Richardson, you guys, a final virtual round of applause for them. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
And thank you to everyone out there watching. Again, this is me, your fave, Jazzonfire, hosting in Creative Color, where again, we're talking with the creators, the bakers, the mover, and the shaker. I cannot wait to introduce y'all to our next guest next month. But until then, I'll see y'all then. Hey y'all, I am Jasmine Bunch, but now and forever to be known as your fave, Jazzonfire. And I am one of the newest hosts of the Sunday Craft Chats. Catch me every fourth Sunday hosting in Creative Color. Can't wait to see y'all there.